Hello, super peeps. Who was it that said super peeps? Dodgy. Yes, good morning, Dodgy. And everybody else. But first, I acknowledge the traditional owners of this land, the Whadjuk Noongar peoples. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and to Aboriginal elders and peoples from other communities who may be taking part in this live stream today. Live, as in live stream. TTS should be working. Yes, Mitchell, I have just logged into the portal. So, hang on, I've got to make sure I've got volume. Crispian is saying test. Come on.
Outside the box said test.
Yes, we have it. So, good morning. I'm going to use this to mark people off. Good morning to Crispian. I'll just disappear. Hang on, who was I'll just disappear? Is that a new person? I don't think I've seen I'll just disappear on the list before. Gerald 42, Michael Wires, Mitchell of course is here. Austin of course is here. Scott of course is here. And hang on, I'm just looking back at the list. Sharky, Tabraze, Emmy is here. Oh, saw Crispian earlier saying that he's not feeling too good. Emmy, I hope you, whatever Crispian is suffering.
Said, how long until TTS gets overloaded?
About 5 seconds. Luminator is here. David Howes, The Lane, Any Mules. Hang on, I've got to try to click a little bit more carefully. Stephen George, Mitch is here. Kind of. I'll let him tell his story if he wants to. Dodgy. Simon, Tech Nebulous, Mark Cantor. Welcome everybody. I'm just still clicking through this list to mark people off as shouted out. If there is anybody else here, oh, you're feeling less terrible. Yeah, this is like a roll call, isn't it? Okay, looking at my list. Austin, here. Yes, g'day, I'll just disappear with the big pink glove or whatever that is. Hi, my name is Jordan, says I'll just disappear. Okay, good day, Jordan. Welcome. Yeah, Michael Wise says present. I was just looking at names and not looking at what people were actually saying. Sharky says, good morning all, nice sunny morning. It really is. It really is beautiful outside today. Looks amazing. The hour approaches, as some call it fun. I was about to quote myself there. That would be a little bit inception-y. Scott says, Super Peeps makes me think of muscle-bound marshmallows. I don't know how that association works. Scott says, wet, windy and chilly here all day. Scott, I can't remember, if you mind sharing, what part of the world are you in? I don't remember. Don't remember quite where you're from. Yes, echoing Gerald 42 sentiments. I hope you feel better soon, Crispian and Emmy. Okay. Very important. If I don't say this right now, Southern Ontario. Scott, you're in Southern Ontario. Yeah, Canada. Yeah, Mark Kander is in Ohio. Oh, Sion, you're here as well. Yes, moo to Sion. Sion is in nice sunny Melbourne, just like me. Okay, now, very important. If you're in Melbourne and you are planning to come to my barbecue today, don't, because I won't be here. I have a family event on this afternoon, which has meant that I have to cancel the barbecue. I've posted about it in Discord and tried to let people know, but for those of you who didn't get the message, Ben, g'day Ben, says hi from the UK. So the place you should go. Okay, where are the buttons? Here are the buttons. Okay, so this is in the Superhouse Discord. there is a connected community hackerspace, which is the hackerspace down in Hawthorne. Barbecue today at Bunnings in Hawthorne. Now this, I believe, is an old photo, but it is representative, and as you can see, can I zoom? No. Alright, I'm just going to open this in a separate thing so I can bring the picture up. And look who's there! So this is cash pay on your phone. Oh, okay, sorry, just got distracted for a little while. There is the logo for the hackerspace, and you can see SourceBot is there, and yeah. So the thing is, we couldn't have a barbecue at the Super Lab today because SourceBot isn't here. SourceBot is in Hawthorne at the Bunnings at the barbecue. Ooh, Sion. Yes, I will get to that in just a second, right after this wrap up. So, if you would like, it is a beautiful day in Melbourne today. It's a good day to be out and about. If you do feel the need to go to a barbecue, and you should, go to Bunnings Hawthorne and check out the Connected Community Hackerspace Sausage Sizzle, and you can get to use SourceBot. That way you can get your fix of SourceBot, even though there is no Superhouse barbecue today. So, and also Lachlan was saying that they could do with a couple of volunteers. So if you want to go the extra mile and actually help out at the barbecue, then Lachlan, I'm sure, would appreciate your help. He said that there have been a couple of people who have called in sick last minute who normally help at the barbecue. So, yeah, you can turn up and just support and buy a sausage. Or, if you're feeling like it, you could step behind the counter and help out. Say that 5 times fast. What did I say, Michael? I don't know. So, anyway, the important thing is no barbecue today at the Super Lab. There is a barbecue at Bunnings Hawthorne for the hackerspace. So please go along and support it. Michael said there's a lot of sick going around this week. Yes, there has been. Oh, Jack's Tech is here as well. And Ben, I think I said hello to Ben Straker earlier. Okay, now, a supermassive sausage sizzle. Right. Okay, so Sion had a thing. Sion said, can I hijack your stream for a few minutes? Of course you can. I don't know how to say it in Spanish, but my stream is your stream. To share something I just found on YouTube, I want your and the chat's opinions and thoughts. Yes, please. It sounds like an 80s radio DJ. Okay, I will I will slow my roll. And yeah, so Sion, if you have a link to a YouTube video, mi streamer, su streamer. Yeah, if you have a link to a YouTube video or something that you think we should see, please. Okay, here we go. Hang on, first I'm going to mute, and then I'm going to click on this link. Okay, just before I get into that YouTube video, yeah. So as Mitch has just said, so I didn't want to break Mitch's confidence. So right now, but he's said it himself, so that's okay. He's in ICU with a tear in his aorta. So he had basically no sleep last night, from what I hear, and is probably feeling pretty crappy right now, because ICU is a horrible place to be. They're always well lit and loud and things going on constantly. So yeah, trying to get rest. I think the only time you would be comfortable being in ICU is if you're in a coma. Any other time, if you have any awareness of what's going on or any other issues, it's not a good place to be. Yes, that is thoroughly suboptimal. Yeah, Scott, thanks for the tip. Scott's tip was, don't do that. Yes, so many of you will know Mitch from live streams. Just to refresh your memory, he was the guy who helped me with KiCad. So doing some KiCad stuff a few months ago. We did a series of live streams with me struggling with KiCad, and Mitch was my very patient teacher. So yes, many of you will know him from barbecues, from the early days of the hackerspace, this same hackerspace, this one here, and from those KiCad live streams. So yes, I won't share any particular more than that because, as I said, it's Mitch's decision of how much he wants to share, how much he doesn't want to share. I will do my best to not overstep. Now, Sion had a link to this. I've got to be careful here because I don't know what the deal is going to be with copyright strikes and things. I'm not going to play the audio on this just to help the avoid the algorithm from clobbering me. And I'll just bring that out a bit bigger. All right, so what are we looking at here? It's a display. Okay, so we've got album art, digital museum album art gallery. And yeah, so I think the point of this is this display, which looks really interesting. Is that an RGB LED matrix? That's what it looks like to me. Go to the timestamp. Oh, okay, cool. 209 seconds. Let's go to 209 seconds and pause it there. Okay, so it's an RGB LED panel on a block of wood, is what it looks like. Is that the thing? The product is not important. Go to the timestamp. Okay. Almost looks like... All right, I'm going to unmute. I just saw that Scott did a say thing and my computer was muted because I didn't want to... What I'll do instead is I will mute this. So I've muted the video and unmuted my computer, which means that text-to-speech will work. Okay, watch for a few seconds until the phone Wi-Fi is set up. All right, here we go. What I'll do is I'll unmute it because I do want to hear this. I'm just going to play a few seconds of it.
It's an impressively polished device for just this one fella to make no mistake,
Whopper.
this is a hobbyist product rather than something that some big company has made for the mass market.
Okay.
The accompanying app includes 3 options for the artwork transitions. You've got a straightforward image swap, a cross dissolve, and a pull-up wipe that's intended to evoke crate digging for records in a shop. And there are settings for the display brightness, both.
Right, so... I see. Okay, so this is... okay. This is getting to the crux of it. I hadn't realized that... Okay, thanks, Dion. So I hadn't realized... Now, where is it? 209 seconds. Let's go back to here.
You'll need to be patient if you order one. Oh, else it's an impressively polished device for just this one fella.
Connecting to Whopper V2. Yes.
That's a make no mistakes.
Yeah. Yes, I see. Right. So it right. Okay. Now we've got some context. I think I'm getting my head around the situation here. So what? So Sion, correct me if I'm misinterpreting any of this, please. But I'll try to summarize my understanding of it. What it looks like is Sion has a project that has been out for a while, and that's what the Whopper reference is. I'm not sure if you can read this on my my playing of this video. So Whopper, that is on here, is a reference to one of Sion's projects. And then this person has taken an RGB LED panel and stuck it on a bit of wood, is what it looks like. So I think that's like it's just a timber base that it just to make the panel stand up. I don't think there's anything much more to it than that. And used Sion's code on it, which is why it blatantly says Whopper V2, and is now selling this as a product. Link not affiliated. Merch, Techmoan merchandise. Oh, that's Techmoan. That's the channel. That's not the product. So Techmoan is a channel with 1.37 million subscribers. That is a decent sized channel. And this video came out yesterday and it's got 80,000 views already. So TuneShine is a 64 by 64 RGB LED album art display for music played by Spotify, blah blah blah, available from there, etc. Okay, yep, first URL is the product. Yes, Michael says Whopper is the computer in Wargames. Yes, that's right. And that was originally... Yeah, it's not his product. It's not Techmoan's product. He's referencing the other person. So TuneShine. So he's referencing this one. This is the place. So whoever is doing this, okay, so for $200 plus tax and shipping, you get the LED panel on a piece of wood.
Techmoan is a tech reviewer, historian. He likely had no idea it was being ripped off.
Oh yeah. Maybe I obviously did not express myself properly. So what I was saying is that Techmoan is a big high-profile channel, but he's referencing a product from someone else. And I think in that bit of the video you were saying you'd have to wait for a while because there is like a backlog on them. Yeah, high demand, ships in 4 to 6 weeks, assembled by hand. Limited edition aluminium variant, and yes. Okay, so here is where we are getting to the crux, I think, of Sion's issue with this. Hang on, I'm gonna zoom this in. All right, who makes TuneShine? TuneShine is designed and assembled in Oakland, California by Tobias Butler using a mix of off-the-shelf and custom components. But what it does not show is any credit for the fact that it is using, it's actually Sion's project originally. And it even has my product name in his product. Yeah. Right. Okay. This is not what I was expecting to be talking about today, but but this is fine. I've just I've been doing this while I've been talking. I've been sitting here peeling paper off laser cut parts because this is what we are going to get to in a little bit, but not just yet. All right, here we go. Let's have a look at this issue. All right, now that we've got now that we've got some context on what is going on here. So Mitchell asked, what's the license for the code? And hello. And Sion's question is, I'm just curious about your thoughts on people using your code in commercial products under MIT, so legally okay, but blatant ripoff, even has my product name in his product. Interesting. Yeah, Sion, that's right. I wasn't saying you were hijacking my stream. The whole point of many of my streams is that we can follow whatever is the interesting path. And the what's the term? We take what is given. That's which is a funny thing that came up. I was about to dive into a totally different rabbit hole. Has anyone here read the book series Altered Carbon? I read it quite some years ago, like I think 10 years ago or so. And so there's Altered Carbon, and then there are some follow-ups. There is Broken Angels, I think. Is Broken Angels the second one? Something like that.
Scott Miller said, has there ever been a stream not hijacked by at least squirrels?
I don't know. But anyway, one of the things in it is there is a character called Kelchrist Falconer who has... anyway, I could go way down this rabbit hole. There are a whole lot of little philosophical teachings in it, and on the face of it, it is a straight up sci-fi action adventure sort of thing, but there is also the whole basis of it is questioning whether humans should live forever, whether if the technology was available for us to extend our lifetimes for some significant period, potentially living for thousands of years, what does that mean in many ways in terms of impact on society and our understanding of the value of life and and many other things. And one of the little sayings is, we take what is given. And this is in just dealing with day-to-day aspects. And the funny thing is that came up yesterday in striking class. It was in the context of when you're fighting... Hang on, I've got to mute to cough. When you are fighting someone and your opponent is following their game plan, you have to take what is given. And if someone gives you a leg, you take their leg. If someone gives you their fist, you take their fist. Anyway, so that was such a weird sidetrack. Artabraze says, seen it on Netflix. Yeah, so there was a Netflix series which was dramatically simplified compared to the books, and also radically restructured. There are many common elements between the books and the Netflix series, but it was one of those situations where they took the book more as inspiration and general structure than as something to reproduce. And there were major plot points that were changed and characters that were totally replaced, and yeah. Anyway. So, we take what is given. That is the only way to, or as, as another wise man once says, be like water. Okay, so Sion said he's 100% borrowed Brian Locke's code as he has made a Spotify image display on an LED panel years ago, also open source. And yeah, Scott says martial arts training I've done centered more around wrecking your opponent's game plan. Yeah, well, that's true, but you wreck it by circumventing it or negating it. So if someone has a game plan and their plan is to do something to you, you take the thing that they're doing to you and use it against them. So yeah, if someone kicks you and you can check the kick, or you can potentially use the kick as an entry to a takedown, or yeah, if someone punches you and you can slip it and get an angle, you can take their punch as an entry to a back take, all sorts of things. Yes. Scott says military training is a little different from civilian. I'm sure it is. Yeah. All right. Getting back to the point. Okay. So Scott says even as open source, kind of rude to use it without even mentioning the originator. Now, what it looks like is the TuneShine system is based on a combination of Brian Locke's work to create the Spotify client, which grabs the album artwork from Spotify, and Sion's work in terms of things like the Wi-Fi onboarding process. And oh, Johnny is here too. Johnny Bergdahl, my Swedish friend. Welcome. And has created a commercial product out of it. Just Wi-Fi stuff is mine, not the rest of it. Yep. Yeah, so let's get on to test systems, says Sion. Not yet. We will. Oh, actually, one thing I got to do before the Fusion 360 maintenance window starts in half an hour, I've just got to launch Fusion because I want to show you some things in it. Hang on, I'm just getting a warning that the data rate on my stream is lower than it should be, and that is seriously suboptimal. I haven't actually seen that for a while. Remember, we used to have all of these problems with stream dropouts, and then it went away. And I'm just seeing a warning now for the first time in quite some time. All right, I'm going to bring up Fusion. I'm just going to get into the appropriate folder before bringing it up on stream. And here we go. Yeah, look at this. On Sunday, September 8th, from 11 AM to 12 PM, Fusion will undergo a downtime maintenance. Timed perfectly to begin halfway through my stream. Very nice. I'm just going to... So I may not actually be able to... Oh, I wonder if I can...
Scott Miller
cache.
said, YouBoob is just unable to gather enough data to train their IAs.
Yeah, that's right. All right, I'm going to cache this for offline access. So I've just hit cache this project. Hopefully it is... I don't know what it's doing. Is it downloading stuff in the background? Oh, here we go. Updating offline cache. 0 of 103 items. Yeah. All right, so I am pulling down the cache of all of the Testomatic stuff because I want to show you some things in a moment. Now, okay, I want to share my feelings about this situation. Say cache, Mitchell says. Okay. Now,
Mitchell R said, cache.
Cache. It is not cache. Cash is something that you used to use to buy things. Before we decided that every transaction should have a couple of percent skimmed off the top and sent to a financial institution to make them richer than God. Okay, so my feelings on... I have emotional reactions to this situation and I have rational reactions to this situation. All right, Scott, let's see how it's pronounced on this one. Because English, like Civ.
Scott Miller said, you can use cash to buy cash.
Yep. All right. I want to... pronounce...
Jack's Tech said, it's a cash eye.
Cash. Oh. Really? Cash. Here we go. Ask an Australian. Oh, look at this on Reddit. How does everyone pronounce... I'm going to say cash. Just wondering because I've got a lot of mixed pronunciations in my office. I always say it like cash, but a lot of people seem to say cache. Like the word geocaching. It would be odd to pronounce it geocaching. Well, that's it. That is how I just did pronounce it. Okay. Apparently only Australians say cache instead of cash and are mocked for it if working in IT elsewhere. Same goes for our pronunciation of data as data rather than data. Or data. Have to love the inconsistency of English and its loanwords. I find it funny that when I was reading this, like it says, goes for our pronunciation of data. Without reading the rest of the sentence, I pronounced this as data. As data.
Maker said, it's pronounced cash. I got reamed on a stream a few years ago by the cash police.
The cash police.
Jack's Tech said, cash A.
I am going to keep saying cash. It says, I've always said cash. Changing it to cash would feel a bit phony for me personally, but I'd never correct someone for saying cash. Yeah, same goes for router. Apparently Australians think router is a question. Yeah. Did she pronounce it router? Yes. Okay, Australians have strange words for things. I say it as router because it's got a U in it. And I pronounce it as cache. And I'm going to continue to do so. And I will not bow to, what's the term? Big US pronunciation. Scott says Australian pronunciations are easily mocked in general. Yeah, true. But data because of next generation. Yeah, I say data and cache and yes. Where were we? Yeah, Scott says, come on, text to speech. Let's hear it. Let's hear what Scott says. Hurry up, hurry up. All right, while we're waiting for text to speech. Now,
Scott Miller said, what route do you take to work?
What route? Yeah, that's true. I do say route in that context, or route. I say routing.
Mitchell R. said, a router is a router that routes and caches packets or sieves wood shavings, laughing face.
Yeah. I don't say route those packets, I say route those packets. We need to route those packets up to the satellite and into the back of Mr. Big's limo. Anyway, yeah, Mitchell. English. All right, so I've got to try to get back on track. Now, I have had very emotional reactions in the past to people ripping off my stuff. Now, this is even without the whole JCar thing. So ignore that for now. That was a different issue, because my issue with JCar was not that they took the designs and reproduced them. It was that they took my documentation, like the book that I've written essentially, copied it and took my name off it and presented it as their own work. That was direct copyright infringement. Okay, this is what really... I will get back to the original point. I said I wasn't going to talk about the JCar situation. Many people misinterpreted my reaction to the JCar situation and said, well, you put your stuff out as open source, so what do you expect? Of course people are going to copy it. You know, that was the reaction that I got. Of course JCar is going to reproduce it. Now, what I was upset about was not that open source work was taken and used in an open source way. It was that I had gone out of my way to make it as easy for them as possible. The document that I created, like the book that I created to go with the experimenter's kit, was licensed under Creative Commons. The designs for all of the boards and everything were all open. It was all under licenses that allowed them to use them for commercial purposes. There was actually nothing stopping them from going about it in a 100% honorable way. They could have honored the licenses. They could have been good players in the open source community, but they chose to take an asshole approach to it, which was me saying to them, here is this content, it is available to you under an open license, and they took it and went, screw that, we're taking it, taking your name off it, removing all references to the license, we're going to claim it as ours. And totally dishonored the open approach, which they could have followed. And so to the extent that their packaging copied mine, and yeah. So it was the reason I was upset at them was that they were screwing me in terms of our commercial arrangement, and they were blatantly ignoring the correct open path that they could have followed. Like, the roadmap was right there to honorably use the open designs, reproduce them, give credit where it's due, all of that sort of thing. And and I think I would have been okay with that, but they didn't. They stripped all references. Now, the more I talk about this, the closer this really is to Sion's situation. So Austin said, open source is not equal to the right for large companies to steal and not give credit. If that type of mentality were to continue, we'd be without many things, without big amounts of money having to be paid for access. Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of comes into the tragedy of the commons situation. It's not quite tragedy of the commons, because that is partly related to limited resources and people taking more than their share and therefore depriving others. It's more of a embrace, extend, extinguish approach, like what Microsoft used to do. I don't know if they're quite that quite so aligned with that sort of strategy these days. Michael Wires says, life rule number 3934, people suck. I think that's life rule number 1, isn't it? Yeah. So Scott says, I find most of the accepted open source licenses confusing and tend to put this one in my open projects. All right, let's see what this links to. Okay, cool. I'm going to put this one up on the up on the screen. All right. This is the license. Go ahead, use this design. I'd be pleased if you mentioned someplace where you found it. That'd be cool. If it works for you, awesome. If it fails, fix it. Maybe even let me know what helped make it work. Want to blame me if something goes wrong? Sorry, not my problem. Yeah, so this is it's basically a do whatever you like sort of license. So that one is simple enough to understand. Jack Stack said the Red Hat approach. Yeah, that's I don't really. Yes. Okay. Some Call It Fun says, doesn't the entire cloud industry rely upon using Linux for profit? Well, kind of. That is a slightly different situation because what they are doing is using Linux as underlying infrastructure. They are not. They are not selling the product. Okay, yeah, I don't necessarily want to get into that whole thing because that's the whole TiVoization argument from like the late 2000s. All right, so Sion asked the question, should I contact the guy and ask him to remove references to my product from his product? Basically embarrassing him for being caught and stupid enough to not remove my product name. Austin's response was absolutely. Okay. If they've all credited me, yeah, Austin says, dumb enough to leave it, then you deserve to be called out on it. Yeah. So, okay, my emotional reaction to this situation, there is some nuance to this. Part of my emotional reaction to this situation is the feeling of having been stolen from. And I want to elaborate on this just a little bit because it's a little bit mushy in my head and I don't know if I'm going to express it very well. I need to be careful about how I express it. Keith is here as well. Welcome, Keith. So, okay. This is a real tension in my head because one of the reasons, there are multiple reasons, but one of the reasons that I release things as open source in the first place is that so that other people can go out and do things with it and build on it and create their own products and become successful. And I love it when I see people who take things that I might have had some small part in originating and then building on it and creating things that I didn't necessarily think of creating. And there are people right here in the chat now who sell products that are derived from things that I designed or were inspired by them, even if they are not directly based on it, which is really cool. And I hope that they are successful. So that is one aspect to it. That's the positive side to it, which is I have done this so that other people can succeed. Now, this is the, Austin says guilty. Yeah, and that is really cool. I love that you've done that. And in that sort of situation, so Austin has come up with ideas that extend my original, the kernel of the idea and adds polish and different ways of thinking about and solving problems that I didn't come up with, which is really, really cool. And I love to see that. And then sometimes I steal back. I am blatantly stealing from Austin's inspiration for the Smart Hub, for example. And yeah, I really like to see that. Okay, so this is the counterpoint to it. So I've just been laying out the positive emotional response to it, and now I'm going to lay out the negative emotional response to it. And Sion has just made a comment that hopefully will come up on text-to-speech soon. Come on, speak up, text-to-speech. Okay, so I will just read it out. Sion says, I agree, that's why I release a lot of my stuff open source, but have also been financially harmed by the same, so it's constantly frustrating me while making me happy, annoying. Yes. And, okay, that ties into Jack's text follow-up, which is, but you credit him, and therein lies the difference. Yes, very much. And Austin says, the main reason I disagree with what Sion is currently dealing with is the closed source nature of it. That 100% isn't fair. Yeah, no worries, Sion. Yeah, okay, so this now gets onto the other side of it and the negative emotional response that I have to this situation. One thing that I sometimes think is, if I see someone else being successful with things that I have created or based on things that I've created, I have resentment, which is not a positive emotion. And how do I explain this? I have just recently come to realize that I can't do everything. It is a shocking revelation. I have the bite off more than you can chew sort of approach to life, and wanting to do every single thing. I want to do that, and I want to do that, and I want to do that, and all these things are interesting. I want to do them all, but I can't do them all. And when someone does something that I think, oh, I'd like to do that, then I can think, oh, that should have been mine. Like, I should have been the one to pursue that particular idea and bring that to fruition, but I didn't. Someone else did, and they are reaping the benefits of it or reaping the rewards of it. So, where am I going with this thought? Yeah, so I do sometimes have this negative emotional reaction to someone else being successful. Now, coming back to Jack's text comment earlier about giving credit, and that is where the difference is, I think that is largely it, because there are a couple of rewards that you can get for, well, there are many rewards you can get for releasing things as open source. Or, no, more generally, okay, not just releasing something as open source, more generally, rewards you can get for creating something. One of those rewards is financial. It is, I am building this thing, I'm selling it, or providing subscriptions, or whatever the revenue model happens to be, and I'm making money from it because I created this thing. It's putting value into the world, and value is coming back to me in a financial sense. Another sense is credit coming back, which is recognition of your contribution or your input to it, and the relative importance of those two things can vary depending on your circumstances in life, depending on your level of financial security, for example. So if you are very financially secure, then credit might be more important to you than money. If you are not financially secure, you may not care about credit. You just want the financial return in order to be able to live and pay your bills and support your family and all of those sorts of things. And it's not likely to be exclusively one or the other. There will be weights, levels of importance of these things in your life, depending on the circumstances that you're in at the time. So I think the time where I have resentment, if I create something, release it as open source, and someone else goes off and benefits from it and builds a business or a product or a successful project or whatever it happens to be, if I, and this sounds like it's very self-serving as well, because in the ideal abstract case, there shouldn't be any need for a return. It should be a case of, I am creating this thing, putting it out there. It could be put out anonymously. Anyone can benefit from it.
Scott Miller said, the biggest reward can often be simply being thanked for helping someone solve a problem.
Yes, and that is the intangible. That is where you get value coming back to you, which is just recognition. So what is happening in this situation is someone has taken Sion's work, Brian Locke's work, probably the work of other people, we don't know, and has merged it together, synthesized a product that is now being sold presumably profitably. I don't know. I don't know what their cost base is, and like they're selling it for a couple of $100 per unit. I don't know if that's reasonable or not. Presumably they're making money out of it. So they have now created a product where they are financially benefiting from it and giving zero credit. Now, I have a feeling that Sion's reaction would not be quite the same if this sentence right here was not so singular. If, for example, there was, well, two things. If there was a section in here of credits, and it credited Sion and Brian and whoever else has provided the input into this, and said something like, TuneShine couldn't exist without the without building on the work of many people, including so-and-so, and ideally links to their profiles or their sites or whatever. Okay, so giving credit is critical in the open source community. Without that, it very much becomes a case of, I am going to grab everything from everybody and keep it and say it's mine and not give credit. So my suspicion is that even without a financial result coming back out of it, if credit was here, Sion's response might be much more positive. Of course, it's up to Sion to speak out, to give his perspective on this. I don't want to speak for him.
Imogen Ann said, credit where credit is due.
Yeah, and as Michael said, credit is the currency. It leads to opportunities. Exactly. Yes, it leads to opportunities that then... okay, so this is... so Sion said...
Unexpected Maker said, I don't even need a call out, but him acknowledging his leveraged other people's work would be enough.
Yeah, that's right. It very much looks like... yeah, and this is kind of weaselly wording, where it says, TuneShine is designed and assembled in Oakland by Tobias. So you could say, yeah, he designed the piece of wood that it's attached to. He measured it and cut the wood and then stuck the thing onto it. So yes, that was designed and assembled in Oakland, California. But it totally fails to... It implies without saying it that it is 100% his work. And the other thing is, I suspect... Oh, check this out. Patent pending, what the hell? TuneShine and the TuneShine wordmark are trademarks of TuneShine Inc. I hadn't even noticed that... yeah, there's an important comment from Mitch. I'll get back to that in a second. Yes, help, feedback, blah. Let Apple know, blah. Okay. Yeah. A patent? All right. That is getting into territory where I could start getting angry because patents piss me off. Not necessarily the concept of
DIY
patents.
in the ghetto said, a lot of people don't give credit to where it's due.
Yeah.
I see this a lot from my old day job. It's sad.
Yeah. So, yeah, patents. I don't want to get into that kettle of fish either right now. Yeah, Wagon Load says, that is like mounting the singing fish on a board then taking credit for the design. Yeah, Mitchell says, oh, now that is a problem because they should not be able to get a patent. Yes. So I don't necessarily have a problem with patents as they were originally conceptualized or in the context in which the whole patent system was invented. But the world has changed, life has changed, and the way patents are used has changed. So, yeah, okay. I'm not going to get into patents right now. That would start getting me angry. All right, now getting back to Mitch's comment. So Mitch said that, so Mitch's comment was, a discussion of the issue of credit and reputation in the hacking community can be found in ESR's paper, Homesteading the Noosphere. So ESR is Eric Raymond. For those of you who don't know, and Homesteading the Noosphere is on the Cathedral and the Bazaar. Hang on, I'm going to bring this up. It's a long time since I've read this, but if anyone is into open source and you have not read this, you really should. It's one of the seminal pieces of writing that helped form people's thoughts around open source and community and how people can cooperate and collaborate. And so this URL, I'm going to stick this in here. Link. Yes, Wagon Loads asked for the link. I'm going to drop it into the chat. So, in fact, what I can do is, I should do this more generally. This is the live chat. I'm going to put this up here. It makes it much harder for me to read, unfortunately. There, okay. Paul says, I thought it was Noonsphere, rhymes with moon. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know which is correct. Noosphere. Yeah, so this domain, the link that I provided, CatB, that is something else that you should read. So CatB, once again, is a legendary piece of writing from the early days of the open source movement. And CatB stands for, hang on, I've got a cough. Cathedral and the Bazaar, or more fully, the Cathedral and the Bazaar. So it should be TCatB. But anyway, it's always referred to as CatB. So the Cathedral and the Bazaar is a comparison of methods of software development between the process of building a cathedral as a very ordered, planned, structured structure. Building something large, a large edifice with a whole lot of people cooperating to do it under centralized control, versus a bazaar, and I'm talking about a bazaar in the sense of like, not bizarre, but
Scott
bazaar.
Miller said, I wonder what AliExpress LED panel is glued to that block of cheap wood.
Yeah. But bazaar, as in like a showground full of little stalls, or like a city street or a town square full of little sellers who are all making their own unique things and selling them, like a like a flea market sort of thing. So it's the process of constructing a cathedral as a very organized process versus a bazaar, which is like a random eclectic collection of people with their own ideas and interests and yeah, some call it fun. Says, oh, next we talk about tragedy of the commons. Yeah, that ties into it. But anyway, Cathedral and the Bazaar. That is another piece of writing that you really should check out. So homesteading. Now I think it should be pronounced Newsphere. Yes. And this is all the different parts of it. Next, it's broken down into lots of little pages. The varieties of hacker ideology, promiscuous theory, Puritan practice, ownership and open source, lock and land title, the hacker milieu as gift culture, joy of hacking, many faces of reputation. You can see, ownership rights and reputation incentives, the problem of ego, the value of humility. Like these are all of the different mini chapters within this this piece of writing. So yeah, revision 1.2 first published online in April 1998. So this has been around for a few years. Where are we? Causes of conflict, project structures and ownership. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, work offline, Fusion. We're currently, yes. Okay, hopefully I've still got all that cached stuff. Oh, go away. Let's get rid of that for now. Just reading these these chapter titles shows shows how much this ties into all the concepts of what I've been talking about so far about the say cash. No, I won't say it.
Mitchell R said, cash grin.
Cash grin. Yeah. Oh, okay. Sion. All right. X unexpected maker status. Let's see. What is Sion linking to here? Cool. Nice one. So Sion has just referenced Tobobo, creator of TuneShine, saying, would it be a good idea to acknowledge you've also leveraged and included other people's work in your product under your Who Makes TuneShine section of your FAQ? I think it would be the right thing to do rather than passing this all off as your own work. Yes, I am going to like that one as well. Yeah, this will be interesting to see. Now, I don't... yeah, I don't know. I don't want to shame people unnecessarily. That's the other thing, is it is quite possible that all of this is being done in a well, in a non-malicious way, or in a way that is just through not realizing. So I don't know. I don't know. This is going to be interesting to see. So I want to see what response. Yeah, where was the chat? Yeah, okay. So Sion has tweeted the creator of TuneShine, and we shall see what happens. I'm still on a low bitrate connection for some reason. I don't know why. Now. Yeah, Jack's Tech says he may not even realize he's done it. Sometimes business people do the website and screw the original creators. Dodgy says name and shame where warranted. Yeah, I don't know. My default position is to, while doing this, I'm going to keep peeling paper off these laser cut parts. My default position is to assume good intent. Yeah, Gerald42 says, don't blame malice. That can be attributed to something else. Yeah. And Sion says, I'm sure it's not malicious. I don't want to shame him really either, but fair is fair, and I'd like to see how he reacts to this. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So the reaction to this is the telling thing. The other thing is that people's ideas change over time, over the course of their life, with their experiences, with being on opposite sides of situations. Scott says, personally, Dorito ergo sum. Dorito, okay, so I'm trying to figure out the Latin of that. Dorito, that would be something to do with, is that, okay. Either what you are, oh, you mock. I was going to say Dorito could be deride, as in, like, I deride you, or, because I don't know that word in Latin, I was wondering if it was either the root of deride or the root of derive. And so it could be either I derive, therefore I am, which means that's a positive way of looking at it. That is, I am based on other people's work or on other things. Or I deride, and therefore I am. So I live to mock. Okay, the sum of all your Doritos. Michael says, "Why do I suddenly want to eat name brand corn chips?" Yeah. You're probably hearing weird sounds. It's because I've gone back to peeling the paper off all of these laser cut parts. I laser cut new parts, parts for an entire new Test-O-Matic chassis last night, and I did it moderately late and then left it because my plan is to put this stuff together on the stream today. What I need to do is get some acrylic that is not totally clear. It needs to have just a bit of a tint to it so you can see it, because when I hold up stuff like, well, you can see the edges. Actually, that is quite visible. If I get the angle right, like that, you can see the cuts in of all of the edges, but at certain angles it kind of vanishes. Like that's one of the side plates. It goes that way. It's very hard to see unless I get the angle right, and you can see all of the edges being shown. Sion, don't apologize. This is important and interesting stuff. Sion says,
Unexpected Maker said, I'm sorry my 2 minutes hijack has taken up an hour, sad face.
No, don't be sad, Sion. It is an important thing. It's the basis of what we do here, and sometimes we need to stop and think about it and discuss it. Sharing ideas. Sharing has consequences, both positive and negative, and it's unfortunate when you have the negative consequences like this, or have people that are taking advantage of it. There have been times, I'm trying to think of an example. There have been times where people have pointed out to me, like sent me links to things that other people have done based on my work, and I had no idea that they'd even done it. And it kind of, when that happens, I now have two sides. When that happens, it kind of makes me feel good, but also strange, because it makes me realize that there must be so many instances of my work or things derived from my work that I have no idea that they even exist. Yeah, it was a good discussion. Sion, do not feel bad about having brought up this topic or the situation that's happened to you. And I think just the reference, if people go off and have a look at Homesteading the Noosphere and the Cathedral and the Bazaar, then there is great value in that as well. So having brought that to people's attention because of the circumstance is a good thing. And now we have the deck plate. I've mostly finished peeling off the paper. I should probably switch to, where are we? So the overhead camera that I have here, hang on. I need to stop for a cough and a drink. So I'm going to mute. Talk among yourselves. Hang on, I'm going to do that so that you can see this again. You can see your own chat. And abnormal programming will resume shortly. Okay. Right. I'm going to bring this over here. Oh, actually, before I slide over to the other side, I am going to just see if Fusion is working. It may be totally dead at this point because of the service, but hopefully my cached stuff has worked. All right. Now, where to begin? Okay, chassis. I'm going to show you the version of the chassis assembly. So what I've done is modified this folder.
Wagon Mode said, I give credit for my robot business to a video of someone who made an internet-controlled deer hunting system.
Oh, that's interesting. Yep. Okay. So Tech Nebulous made a very good point, and it is something that I have wondered or worried about a little as well. So Tech Nebulous said, I've been looking at the PCI connector, and they state it has a cycle of 100 times. Do you anticipate a less cycle time or replacement? Okay. So what Tech Nebulous is referring to is the connector that is on the vertical circuit board and the test modules plug into it. And every time you change test modules, you unplug from that PCI connector and then plug the new module in, which is a cycle. So according to the datasheet, because the thing is that PCI connectors and like edge connectors in general are usually used in situations where they're on, for example, a computer motherboard and you're putting expansion cards into it. And you don't do that every day. You put in an expansion card and then maybe 2 years later you might upgrade or something and you take it out and then replace. I wonder if I can update. Oh, I can. And then you take it out and you replace the card. So now you've had 2 cycles on the connector. So having a connector that is rated to 100 cycles is fine in that scenario. But what we've got here is a situation where this module could be replaced many times. If you are swapping frequently between testing 2 different types of boards, you might unplug one module and plug another one in. So, yes, I am also concerned. Hang on, why isn't my Space Mouse working? I'll turn it off, turn it back on. Do we have action? Nope. I'll unplug the receiver. It seems to regularly just stop working for no particular reason. And if I unplug the receiver, then it comes back again. So, yeah, I am not at all happy or finalized with this gantry design at the moment, but I just started doing something as a, got to start somewhere, got to have something to build on.
Keep in mind that in its intended use, a cycle can be kinda rough. This usage is a lot more controlled.
Yeah, true. But yes, the question about should we be concerned, I am a little concerned. And it may be that there is a different type of connector that would be more appropriate, but it's a bit of a trade-off. If you have one of these test systems and you're only ever testing the one type of board, then you're not going to be swapping it. It'll just stay in place. If you have a couple of types of boards and you might leave it set up for one board for a week or two, and then you change to testing the other type of board, and then a couple of weeks later you change to the first type of board again, then 100 cycles could last you for years, potentially. And the thing is that also the rating is a kind of...
Said, what about older game cartridge consoles? What connectors do they use? No idea how many available pins they have, but maybe worth looking.
Yeah, they were basically...
They have a lot more cycles.
Yeah, but they were basically the same thing, and I think just on a bigger pitch. They had much larger fingers on the PCB. These are quite fine pitch. They're 1.27 millimeter pitch. Now the thing is that the cycle rating is kind of, I may be wrong about this, but my understanding of the cycle rating is that the manufacturer is saying it is going to be okay for at least this many cycles. It's like a life expectancy. If they died at 70 cycles, you'd be pissed off because it hasn't lived up to its expected life cycle. And if it died at 100, I think you'd be pissed off. I think it's a situation where it would probably last for many hundreds of cycles. Could last for 1,000 cycles. It's just that once you got out to like 200 or 300 cycles and it failed, and you go to the manufacturer and say, "Hey, what's going on?" They'd say, "Oh, we told you 100 cycles." 100.
Wagon Load said, are there zip socket edge connectors?
Ah, there are, yes. Okay, so Wagon Loads asked if there are zero insertion force edge connectors, and they are specifically designed, you can buy them, yes, but they are ridiculously expensive. I started looking around and the cheapest ones I saw were like $300.
Mitchell R said, LTT has swapped enough cards in Mobos. You should be fine, haha.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine.
Aaron Knox said, or create a PCI connector daughter board with a ribbon connector to your main board so that can simply be replaced.
True. Yeah, that's true.
Jax Tech said, your assumption is correct.
Okay. Thank you, Jax Tech. Yeah, this top part of it here could be just a breakout with the edge connector and then some other connectors that go down to the main test board, which is kind of what I had in mind originally, and then I just integrated the whole lot into one thing. And that way you could just swap the breakout board and minimal expense. It's a small PCB, a connector that's worth about $4. So this PCI connector is worth about $4 or something, $4 or $5. They're cheap. And that would dramatically extend its lifetime. So you could have, well, the other way to do it would be to have an edge connector that goes into, so this is a multiplier thing. You could have an edge connector on a PCB that then goes into this edge connector. So it's like one extra layer of abstraction. It's just passing through. And then the first edge connector would die because that's the one you're frequently plugging and unplugging.
Said, TTS hates me again.
Oh.
Opening parenthesis.
What was Scott's comment? Oh, I don't know. And then eventually that would die. So you could unplug that from the main board, which would be one cycle on the main board, and plug in a replacement. Then you got another 100 cycles. So it's a multiplier. You would then have 10,000 cycles of the main board before it would die. Anyway, I think it's going to be okay. I'm just going to have to see how it turns out in practice. And it may be that I have to replace this riser PCB at some point. We'll see. I'm going to end up building a few of these anyway, because that's just the nature of developing things. I'm going to make one, and then I want to iterate on it and build another one. I already need to make changes to this PCB. Yeah, Jaxtech says, let's see if it says Jaxtech's comment. In RF,
Jack's Tech
yep.
said, in RF, we call those port savers. Very common on SMA connectors for test gear.
Yes, that's right. So port savers, the idea is that you have a connector into a connector, and then your first connector gets all the cycles, and then when it fails, you take it out and you put a new one in. And then the original connector that goes into has just experienced one cycle, and then you repeat the process. Yeah, Scott says, when the connector fails, time for the next awesome update. So back to this. There are a few changes that you can see. One is I have added this top plate. What I should do is I'm going to show you the existing design. That's right, what I was saying is I swapped the lens on my my top camera because I couldn't zoom out far enough. So I've gone for I normally have a very long zoom lens on it because it's sitting high up above my bench looking down on the bench, and I need to zoom in to look at something. Like typically I'm looking at things this big and I want it zoomed in, so that is the full frame, like if we're looking at a Raspberry Pi size thing, and it makes it very awkward when you're dealing with large stuff. So this is the current version 2 Test-O-Matic prototype. This is what we were looking at, when was it? A couple of weeks ago, whenever it was. So Pi in the bottom, etc. The riser board here with the edge connector on it. We've got the touch screen, and we've got the test module that drops in the top. I'm going to try to give you a bit of a perspective view here. Get the angle right. So the test module, how do I hold this when it's on this funny angle? All right, so you drop the test module into the top of the chassis and then slide it forward, and this is where the edge connector engages. Now, I'm going to show you something here, which is one of the reasons for one of the changes that I've made. You can see the top here is all open. It is just the top of the PCB. This is the vertical plate just there, which is holding the PCB in place. And you can see it's mounted on a couple of standoffs. I deliberately put mounting points directly adjacent to the edge connector because that is where the load is going to be transferred. So when plugging in, like sliding this module forward to engage it with this edge connector, what that's doing is putting force this way through the connector, then to the PCB, and then to this vertical plate, which is indexed or engaged with tabs into the side panels so that it's physically quite strongly mounted there. But if I push this, I don't know whether you can see, it's a bit hard to see. It's flexing the PCB. So I'm not actually engaging the module right now. I'm just applying pressure from the back. I'm pushing on the back corners, and I'll see if I can put a reference there. You can see that the whole connector is moving. That connector is moving because this plate is bending. This is 4.5 millimeter acrylic, and the load is being transferred through to this plate, which is bending like this. I mean, it still works. I can push this forward and it engages. So now that connector is engaged, but it just deflects a little bit. And also the top here is exposed. The top of this PCB is exposed. There is a gap here down the back of the screen. You can see that the sides end here, and there is this gap here. The front just comes down and is exposed on the front there. If I turn it over this way, you might see it a little bit better. There's a big gap around there. So the body ends there, and then the screen is sort of just suspended on the front of it. So what I've done is made a few tweaks. I've basically tweaked every single piece in this, in the chassis in some way. And that's why I've ended up, oh, here's one that I hadn't finished peeling. And that is why I've ended up recutting every single piece of the chassis. It's frustrating when you're in a hurry, but it is kind of relaxing to peel the paper off laser cut stuff. If it was my job to do that, it'd be very annoying. Doing it occasionally, it is kind of relaxing. So this is what I'm calling the cap plate. You can see that it's got a couple of slots in it. And where this is going to go on the new design is right about there. Ooh, interesting. Doesn't fit. I think my my geometry might have to change a bit. Oh, but that comes down. Anyway, we're going to see.
Wagon Load says, some old S100 bus carts have cam levers on the top corners to assist insertion removal.
Yeah, that's true. They do. Little levers that you twist, and it applies pressure to pop the board. And usually the board has like a cutout, I think, in the... there's a shape where a cam comes in and can drive it into place. So these slots are to engage with tabs on the top here. Now I'm gonna I've got a big pile of pieces of laser cut acrylic here. Where is it? Oh, there it is. This piece is the new upright piece here that the circuit board goes onto, and it gets oriented like that. And if I get the angle right, you can see that there are now tabs on the top. This is the top edge, which on the current version is smooth, but now there are tabs, and that is because that new, where's it gone? This new piece, let's see if it fits. Oh, it does fit. Incredible. So this is a new top cap, which will go on here, which will also engage with the sides. And what that will do is provide positive support for this piece. So the deflection force that goes through that way, there are now tabs approximately in the location of these screws, and that will engage there and basically stop it from being able to bend. So when you apply force through like that, it'll have this support and stop it going anywhere. So that should end up being very strong. It should be really rigid in this direction and unable to bend that way when the module is inserted, and unable to pull out this way when the module is being removed. That's one of the little modifications. This is the new base plate to go on the bottom. Not many changes here, apart from removing one of the tabs on the back. So this is the back edge. It actually goes this way. So one of the tabs is gone because the back plate has changed. And I'll show you the back plate. This is really funky. So the back plate now has, this part hasn't changed. It's still got the XT60 connector and the power switch. We now have a big fan mounting location in the back. And you can see a couple of holes here. This is for mounting the circuit board for the fan controller, which is a temperature-based controller. So all I need to do is switch power through to it, and it'll take care of managing the fan speed based on the temperature inside the chassis. And this slot is here because my USB hubs arrived. So these are little low-profile USB hubs. I'm going to have a USB hub in the back, and it is going to be mounted so that it comes through this slot like that. So on the back of the enclosure...
The TuneShine owner has followed me on Twitter, but no response yet, smiley face.
Oh, okay. Well, at least you know that he's engaged. For those of you who couldn't hear through the text-to-speech, Sion just says, the TuneShine owner has followed me on Twitter, but no response yet. Oh, he responded, Sion, says Dodgy. Ooh, this is exciting. We are getting real-time stuff here. I'm going to switch back in a second because I want to see what the TuneShine dude said, Tobias. Yeah, so USB hub mounts in the back of the enclosure. That way there is one USB port taken up on the Raspberry Pi, which gives us 4 ports on the back. And those ports would be used for things like the receiver for the barcode scanner, the label printer, the receipt printer that I use for printing the reports, maybe a keyboard and mouse if you want to run a keyboard and mouse for the Pi, although they could be done wirelessly potentially. So yeah, anyway, having a few USB ports on the back of the Pi, on the back of the tester, is very useful. So this back panel has changed, and because and I had to change this and remove the tab that was in here because of the USB hub. There's it's a little bit hard to see, but if there had been a cut here for a tab, then it would have protruded into this area. So I just removed the tab that was under that. Other changes, the sides have become longer. Where's the angle? Okay, it used to stop there. It's been extended to fill in this gap beside. In fact, let's do a fit test. I'm going to remove this USB cable. I've got the right angle HDMI connector in there. Let's see if it will fit. Ooh, it's not quite going to fit. Hang on, I've got to get the screw heads lined up. Hang on, why is that different? Where did that change? I think I have messed up a position. Oh, maybe not. Okay, I'm going to have to check this. Anyway, I just saw something else that is not relevant right now. Yeah, so the thing is, I do not have a 3D model of this screen. And so, I had to kind of take some rough measurements and some estimates. But what I'm seeing here, but yeah, the point is, you can see here that this side now extends up, and my goal was to close the gap on the screen so that this comes up just below it. I think what I'm going to have to do is increase the size of the standoffs, because I can see, it's a little bit hard for you to see on camera because of the angle, I can see that with this side in place, it just intersects with the edge of the screen enclosure. So the way to solve that would be to use bigger standoffs to move the screen slightly further away. And also I've moved the screen down on the new design.
Austin's_creation said, what is the name of the screen?
It is an Elecro 7-inch Raspberry Pi touchscreen, 1024 by 600 resolution. I can provide a link once I slide back over to my computer. Yeah, okay, that is not quite going to fit. It's very close, but I think I do need to increase the size of those standoffs or fix my case design. I think increasing the size of the standoffs is the the simple solution. But does the back align? Oh, good, it does. So the tabs on the back align, and there's actually a little bit too much play now. One of the things I did was I tweaked the size of these tabs because they were too tight before. I had to use a file to trim each one to be able to get them in, and I've slightly overdone it, and now they are, so I increased the clearance by 0.2 of a millimeter, and now it is just fractionally loose. Not bad, like it's quite workable, but it'll fall apart, like it won't just stay there if I push it in. I think I need to change it, so instead of 0.2 of a millimeter additional clearance, I think I'll go for 0.1 of a millimeter, and that should then be a push fit. Not too tight, but just push in and engage, which is what I'm aiming for here. And of course that depends on tolerances in the laser, etc. So it's specific to the laser that I'm cutting these on. It might need to be adjusted a little differently for other people's lasers. And the side plate. This is the adjusted plate for the display. This is the deck plate, and this is what I've been calling the chin plate. So the chin plate will go under the front like that, underneath the front of the screen. So it'll just clean up. There's no functional purpose for this. It's just to clean up the front of the enclosure so that it doesn't have that open gap under the display. All right, now the curiosity is getting to me. I want to see what is going on with this drama. All right, drama. Where is the drama? He added his GitHub link in an extra response. Okay. I am just going to pull this up here so we can all munch on our popcorn and see what's happening to the response to Sion's thing. Okay, Tobias says, ooh, hesitant to engage with this because you're not really framing this as a good faith comment. I disagree with that. But it seems like you're assuming I ripped off some of the other LED Matrix album art displays out there. The firmware is 100% written by me, with the exception of things like the Matrix driver libraries and the JPEG PNG WebP decoders. Me and a few other makers have independently had similar ideas, and I was not aware of them when I built my first prototype in early 2021. If there's something specific you believe I've ripped off, let me know, but I'm personally proud of the hundreds of hours I've spent on the firmware, server, mobile app, various supporting websites, design, etc. I'm grateful for the open source devs that make embedded projects possible for mere mortals like myself, but I feel no qualms about claiming credit for TuneShine as a project. Okay. Okay. For good measure, here's the code for my original Raspberry Pi version from in 2021. So Sion's reply was, but that's not your current version. I'm not asking you to open source your code, but acknowledging you've used other people's code like mine in your current product would be the right thing to do. My comment was 100% a good faith comment. I didn't say you have broken any laws or done anything wrong, but that suggesting it's all your work is not, where it's not, is just bad form. And sorry, I'm saying these are not necessarily in the context of what they're responding to. So Sion's other comment was, no, you are 100% using some of my code in your project, and I have proof you are. It is not 100% your code or written by you. Maybe you want to reconsider your reply. Interesting. Okay. Well, we shall, hang on. I've got a sneeze coming on. Oh, which reminds me, I need to take my medication. Oh, I really should, but I will do that in 20-something minutes when the stream ends, if the stream ends. All right, where are we? Alan has joined the chat. Looks like a few people have. Wagon Loads is also here. Paul Schultz, welcome. Aaron, DIY in the Ghetto. Alan Madsen, who I just said hello to. Stephen W. I'm just catching up
Scott
on...
Miller said, Drew Uggs.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Wagon Load says, if you could make the screen holder so it uses 4 screws going through the side plate, by removing 2 screws, the remaining screws would work as a hinge.
Maker said, if he would have not gone down the 100% written by me, all mine path, I'd have let it go.
Yep. Yes. Yeah, when the...
underscore creation said, sorry, no luck finding a good 3D model on the screen.
Yeah. Oh, that's what you were doing. Thanks, Austin. I didn't realize that's what you were looking for. I ended up making my own model, but it was a really crude one, and the only reason for doing it was to be able to do a thing like this. So this is the screen here, and I made that model just by basically just measuring it with a ruler, and the thing is the back of it is a kind of organic shape. It's got some weird curves to it that I couldn't reproduce, so I just made like a squared up version, and that may be where my problem is. So you can see here on this side view, the enclosure is supposed to come up to within 1 millimeter or 2 of the back of the screen, and not quite touch it, but just close up the gap around it.
What are you making?
Alan wants to know what we're making. A test chassis, Testomatic, device for testing circuit boards. So the screen is mounted on this mounting plate. I'm going to remove, where is it? Which object? There. I'm going to remove that side plate. just so that we can see inside. So this piece here
Alan Madsen said, nice.
Is the mounting plate for the screen. The screen is sitting on a couple of 3D printed standoffs, and the only reason they're 3D printed is that it's because I didn't have any of the right size, and rather than waiting for shipping time, etc., I just quickly 3D printed a couple. So we've got these little standoffs that are sitting in here, and then there are bolts that go through into the back of the display. So all I've got to do is increase the length of that standoff by, say, 2 millimeters, and that'll fix the clearance problems. Or I could redesign the enclosure to reduce the... I wonder if I need the standoffs. I probably don't even need them anymore. Okay, I'm starting to rethink this. The reason that I put the standoffs there is that there are controls on the back of the screen. And then what I did, and I didn't want to clamp it fully on. And then what I did was add cutouts for the controls, which means that it doesn't matter now if the screen is hard mounted against this plate. Alright, I am continuing to rethink my life choices, and thinking maybe what I should do is remove those standoffs entirely and mount this display hard against this plate so that it's just sitting against it and bolted straight through. That would move it 4 millimeters, hang on, that way from the perspective you're looking at, which is mirrored from mine. It would move it 4 millimeters in closer from top left to bottom right, and it would mount it against this plate. So what that means is I would then need to reduce the size of this top cap. See this cap plate here? This is the one I was just showing you a moment ago. So I need to reduce the size of that. I need to pull it back a bit, and the chin plate would also need to be cut down to be a bit shorter, and the side panels would need a few millimeters taken off them to make them. I'm going to turn that side panel back on so you can see what the side plate, there we go. So this side plate, yeah, imagine taking a knife and just cutting diagonally down through here, slicing off part of the side plate, cutting down the chin plate, and cutting back this cap plate, or the top cap. Oh, Scott has a message retracted. What is... I want to know what that was. Scott says, we're going to go overtime for the redesign like the bodge overtime last week. No, we can't go overtime this week. I have a family event, which is why there is no barbecue happening. I've got commitments this afternoon, which means no overtime.
Said, we're going to go overtime for the redesign like the bodge overtime last week.
No, no overtime. When 12 o'clock comes, I'm ending. That's going to be the end of it. All right, I am now seriously considering whether I should assemble any of this at all, or whether I could do it and then just replace the side pieces.
Said, what about making 3D printed button extenders so you have easy access to the buttons?
Oh, yeah, I could do that, but it's the access is actually okay. Now, this is being seriously slow with the Space Mouse. See, there's this, if we look down underneath, there is this big cavity. I've got this laser cut hole in the base plate, and then that funny shaped hole up there, that is where there is access to the controls. So I can just reach through from underneath and get to them. The thing is that the controls you don't need access to. They're for things like the volume control and whatever other settings it's got for the display. And it just powers up when you apply power to it, and it powers off. So this was one of my concerns. I did not know if the display was going to come to life after a power cycle. I thought maybe it would need to be turned on manually, and it turns out that it does come on by default. So if I shut down the Pi, power down the whole thing, and then just apply power to start it back up again, the display comes back to life. So I don't need to get to those controls. Having access to them is just an insurance policy, but I suspect that they will never, those controls from under here will never ever be used. Yeah, so it's not worth the effort of 3D printing button extenders and all of those sorts of things. It'll work fine. And access is easy anyway. Yeah, just use a finger longer, says Stephen George. Yeah. Oh, Kim said, what jigs and tools do you use to drill screw holes into the edges of the panels? That is a very good question. So Austin said laser cutter, but I think that is not quite what Kim's question was. So what Austin is correct in that I used the laser cutter to do these holes. So these are the holes where the screws will go through to bind the side panel onto the base plate. But the thing is, the screw has to go into the base plate, so you need a hole in the base plate, and that is on the edge. It's not on the face, it's on the edge of the base plate, and I can't do that with a laser. So to do that, I have a drill. And that is actually, right now, that is one of the most annoying parts of this whole process, is drilling those stupid little holes. Sorry, I'm just being distracted by noise outside. There's oh, it's a truck and a forklift. Yeah, the Stuart over the road has got the has been busy today with the sawmill, and yeah, so drill steady hand. Yeah, but what I do is I use the other hole as a guide, and in fact that is one of the things I was going to do on the stream today. And in fact, I could do that right now just to show you what I mean. Now, what I want to do is mount.
_creation said, use a 3D printed jig with steel inserts on a drill press.
Yes, yes, that would be a good way to do it. All right, now I've got to figure out which way around this goes. The base plate, that way. Yeah, that's the front. It can be confusing because it can either go like that or like that, and the difference is the which side the holes are on. So it goes that, from your point of view, you're looking at the base plate from the front, and then this is the riser plate that the PCB goes on, and it goes into slots in the base plate. Oh, interesting. I don't have a hole on the base plate to screw into this. Oh, that'll be because it's on the bottom, and I think I might have been, was I avoiding screws on the bottom? I think I was. That's probably the rationale behind it. So this sits into the slot like that. It's slightly loose, but it's adequate. It holds its position. Okay, and because there's no hole on that, I can't use this to demonstrate what I was about to explain to Kim S. Super glue? No, super glue looks horrible, and it can't be disassembled easily. So yeah, super glue does that crazing, frosty sort of look. All right, I'll show you with this. Okay, this one. Now this is the, oop, goes that way? That way. Yeah, that way. This is the display mounting plate, and this is one of the sides. The display mounting plate goes through the side like that. The side plate has a laser cut hole in it there. Well, it has 3 laser cut holes on this edge. So what I do is I put that through, and then while this is held like this, I use a drill, and I drill with a 1.5mm drill bit, because what I'm using M2 screws to go into this. So I drill with a 1.5mm drill bit through that guide hole into this plate, and that way I end up with holes in the edge of the plate. Yeah, and then I just put the M2 bolts in there. Okay, I have just made an executive decision that I am not going to assemble this on stream because I want to show you something else. The thing is that I really only have like 10 minutes. Seriously, I have to end this stream in 10 minutes. So if I start going down the rabbit hole of assembling this, it's not really going to get to a point where it's useful. And I am now seriously thinking of redesigning the side panels to improve the mounting for
Mitchell R said,
the screen.
N-O-O-O-O-O-O-O. Don't say it's T-R-U-E-E-E-E.
No, it is true. But what I'm going to do is show you something else. And that is... So this is all of the chassis stuff that you can see here. But if we come back to Test-O-Matic and go to... so I told you that I need to test the tester. And so I started doing
Wagon Load said,
a breakout.
That center hole looks like it will make a weak point.
It does, yes. Wagon Loads is spot on. And one of the things I want to do in future is have different panels for the left and right sides. At the moment it's the same panel, and this screw does not get fitted on this side. So if we zoom right in here, and if I make that side disappear again, side plate, that one, look at this. So this is on the display board. In fact, I'm going to make the, which one is it? Elecro 7-inch. There we go. I'll make the LCD disappear. And you can see here, there is the access hole for the controls on the back of the display. This slot here is for the HDMI cable and the USB cable to pass through. But what it results in is this little piece here. There is this very thin part, and there is a screw hole that should go through into that. And on this other side, there is a screw hole there as well, which goes into it where the body here is strong. Yes, it would make a weak spot. So what I did on the one that I've already assembled, if I go to here, you'll notice that there is no screw in that hole. Did I put a screw in the other hole? No, I didn't even bother putting one on that side. I don't think it needs those screws. It's very strong anyway, and it's got bolts there, so I might just remove those holes entirely. But anyway, the point I was starting to get to is I want to etch like logos and text and stuff onto the side of this, and that is going to mean that I have to do left and right versions of the side panel. So I was thinking of doing a left version of the panel that does not have that hole, and keep the hole in the right side, and keep the hole on the other side. But I might just delete the hole from both, because I want it to say Test-O-Matic down the side and put Steve on here and do all of those sorts of things. So back to here. No, not back to there. Okay, so this is the, I started doing a test thing.
Scott Miller said, gonna etch a squirrel someplace?
Yes, definitely. Steve the Squirrel is going to be on there. So this was the tester, and I had LEDs on digital I/O pins, etc. I started modifying it and then decided I would duplicate the project and do a different thing. Okay, so this is what I'm thinking. There is a kind of background thought process to this, in so much as I have thought about it at all. What I realized is that it would be very useful to have a version of a PCB for the test module that is just the front part of the module with some important things on
Austin's_creation said, should try a product like this.
Should try a product like this. What is that? Oh, laser marking additives for plastic. Ooh. I'm just going to stick this up on the screen. I'm going to check that out later. Thank you. Laser marking inks. I have no idea how that works. Laser marked black on clear plastic. Ooh. Laser marked black on colored plastic. Laser marked white on black? Yeah. Okay, this is cool. How does it work? Do you paint it on and then laser it and then wash it off, or what do you do? I'm gonna...
Austin's_creation said, it is a spray, then where you laser it stays.
Ah, okay. Yep. And then you wash the rest of it off, I guess. So it's like you use the laser for curing it. All right, I'm going to leave that tab open. And is there any more drama going on with this? I don't know. Right, okay. Close that. It is... I want to get back to here. Okay. So, what I was thinking is doing a version of just the front part of the test module has multiple benefits. Benefit the first, if I provide breakouts on it, as you can see I've done here. So this is the front part of the test module.
Outside the box said, 3 minutes remain.
This is the front part of the test module with the power LEDs to show the test module power and the device under test power, and it's got the EEPROM to identify the module in place already, all wired up. Then it's got the power rail, so we've got the V-in power, 5 volt and 3.3 volt power to the device under test, broken out to these headers. And then it's got a breakout for I2C and SPI. It's got the 4 USB ports, so port 1 plus, port 1 minus, port 2 plus, port 2 minus. I haven't actually routed those tracks yet, but the connector is there. The 24 digital I/O lines are broken out to here. The 16 analog inputs are broken out to here, and the 16 analog outputs are broken out. And the first benefit to this is that it can be like the reference project. So if I come into TM mod test, TM mod breakout, this one, I'll open the project itself. Schematic may be out of, and PCB may be out of sync. Why is that? Is that just because, yeah, I'm not going to save anything here because Fusion is currently offline and everything is kind of broken. Oh, the wonders of relying on cloud-based software. Ah, sadness. Okay, getting rid of that. Where are we? Let's come up to top. All right. What it does is for anyone who wants to make their own test breakout, this can be like a template or a bootstrap to get started. What you could do is duplicate this, and I'm going to do versions of this. I'm going to do a version of this in KiCad as well. So that what you can do is, if you want to make your own test module, you take this as the starting template.
Said, wow, very well labeled.
And then, oh, thank you. And then you use what you want. So what you could do, for example, is we've got, oh, IDE problem. I need to fix that. I'm not going to change anything now because I can't save it. Well, I probably could because it's cached in offline mode, but I don't want to break the linkages and stuff. I'm going to leave it all unsaved. So what you could do is delete these breakouts, or you could leave them in place, and then you put in your own, all your test pins that you want to locate on your breakout board, and you just hook them up to the signals that you want. So if you've got test pins you need to connect to GPIOs, then you just connect one to GPIO 0, connect one to GPIO 1, etc. If you want to connect them to analog inputs or PWM outputs or whatever, not PWM, they're actual proper analog outputs because they're running off DACs, then you just hook it up to the appropriate signals and away you go. And on the PCB, you just expand the size of it and you put your test points wherever you want them to suit the physical board that you're wanting to test. So my goal here is to get you 80% of the job done before you even begin. I want it to be a case of, you've got this template, it's got all of the edge connector is done, the EEPROM is done, power indicators are done,
Scott
you've got
Miller said,
breakouts.
Cloud software. Cool idea. Austin's_creation said, have fun at your dad's birthday party birthday cake.
Yep, thanks Austin. Yeah, and it's got the fan
Imogen
out.
Ann said, whatever happened to the Steve the Squirrel Stream time reminders?
Oh yeah. So we've got. Yeah, we've already got the fan out. I mean, I need to clean up the routing on this. It's kind of janky. I was just working on this last night. And then if you delete it, if you went into the schematic and you deleted these breakouts, yeah, working offline, I know. Go away. You deleted these breakouts, you would be left with all of the traces coming up to here and just ending, and you could then just run the traces to whatever you want. So it should be relatively simple, starting with this as a template, to create a test breakout for whatever board it is that you're wanting to test. All you should have to do is locate the test pins at the appropriate locations. And there is a whole complication with that as well in terms of the origin point and the coordinates, but I have plans for that I'm not going to get into right now. So that is one of the reasons that I did this. You could use it as a project template to make your own breakout PCB, like to make your own test module PCB. No, I've got to use the correct terminology. Test pin carrier board. This is a test pin carrier board. Well, this one doesn't have test pins on it, but when it's extended and it has the test pins in place, this becomes the test pin carrier board for whatever your target is. Now, the other thing is, it can actually be used as is, because one way you might want to use this, if we come back to the 3D version, it's easier to explain, is to run jumper wires from some of these points at least to some kind of a breakout that suits your test board. So what you could do is have the laser cut frame for the test module with this mounted in the front of it, and then you could mount your own breakout in the middle of the test module. It could be on a 3D printed structure, it could be with test pins, it could be connectors, it doesn't really matter. That's up to you. It gives you flexibility, and then all you do is run cables, probably from connectors on the bottom of this PCB. You could run jumper wires from the appropriate breakouts here to your test interface. So I think this test module breakout board will be very useful just as it is, like as a board with all of these test points broken
Scott
out.
Miller said, "Run away, John. Your dad is waiting. We'll chase more squirrels next week."
Yeah, we can. Thanks, Scott. So yeah, I'll just wrap this up. Well, I kind of just did. So that is the point, really. It would be useful having all of the test points broken out for DuPont cables or whatever you might want to attach, and you can take it and modify the design, remove these connectors, and just run the traces directly to your test pins if you want to. So I want to make it super easy for people to go from having a chassis.
Wagon Load said, "This PCB could be the between board to save the PCI slot."
Yeah, kinda, it could be. So, yeah, that's about it. I should wrap up. So, as you can see, more work on the chassis has been done. The test module breakout.
Mitchell R said, "Next revision, white PCB."
White PCB? Why a white PCB? Hang on, I've got to get back to the chat. Have I been missing chat? Yes, I have been missing chat. Okay, I really should go. Because it's cleaner than black. Yeah? Well,
Mitchell R said, make smash like button.
the existing one is blue.
Mitchell R said, because it's cleaner than black lol.
Yeah. All right. Well, I didn't assemble the chassis, but now I know that I need to revise the chassis slightly. I do like the idea of hard mounting the display down onto this mounting plate and reducing its overall size. So cut all of this back. Cut that down, cut that back. What I'm going to do is mount it and then measure it. I think that's really the only way to be sure. Otherwise, I'm kind of estimating and I may get it wrong again. Yes. Okay. Oh, Crispian says, say hi to your dad for me. I will. Oh, Scott says, orange PCBs for test gear. Can you get orange PCBs at JLC? Where do you get orange PCBs? All right. I am going to go. Yes, Uru Crispian, I am going to go. Thank you for coming along to my random little Sunday rant.
Scott Miller
And
said, tell Dad we all say happy birthday.
I will. Thanks, Scott. And yes, as the lane says, thanks all and have a wonderful week. Bye.